Welcome back to World Insight. Well, this week, U.S. and Russian negotiators met in Geneva. Talks were between the world's two biggest nuclear arsenals, but will set an example to other nuclear haves and have-nots. In their closed-door meeting, Russia and the U.S. worked to forge a successor to the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, or START. The rest of the world will have to wait until presidents of the two countries meet early next month for the details.
The US and Russia started the new round of talks on reduction of nuclear weapons in May. Any move by the two sides will influence the global disarmament progress. So what's the latest official word?
Good morning. Between the presidents?
I think we've had very productive talks, and I expect that productive trajectory to continue.
What would be the next step?
That was the only soundbite available. The Kremlin and the White House have stayed out of the spotlight ahead of their July summit. But it wouldn't be wrong to attribute any positive news to the two presidents. Political will on both sides is clear.
We're ready to reduce by several times the number of nuclear delivery vehicles compared with the START 1 pact. As for warheads, their numbers should be lower than planned by the Moscow 2002 pact, which is something we firmly agree with President Obama about.
2 decades after the end of the Cold War, Russia and the US still maintain nuclear stockpiles. A US State Department report says as of January the 1st, Russia had nearly 4,000 nuclear warheads and 800 delivery vehicles, and the US some 5,500 warheads. Chinese analyst Teng Jianqun says it's imperative that the Russia and the US discuss nuclear weapons reduction.
Large storage of strategic weapons is costly and unnecessary. Strategic weapons always refer to nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons, which could inflict mass destruction with only a small number. Obama has proposed building a nuclear zero world. Talks with Russia on limiting nuclear weapons is a component of his idea.
An outline deal of the START successor is expected to be wrapped up at the Moscow summit, but it won't come easily.
This, of course, cannot be ensured without taking into account the situation with anti-missile defense and many other issues, including deployment of the strike systems in space, plans to create non-nuclear warheads, and the situation with conventional weapons, which is the issue where many new ideas are on the table.
The US deploys an anti-missile shield in Poland and the Czech Republic. Though it repeatedly says Russia is not a target, Moscow isn't convinced. So Russia wants to link the shield with the New Deal. So far, Washington has turned a deaf ear.
Afternoon. I've said that we don't make the linkage. We've heard what the Russian side has said, but I think we're just going to focus on the goal the two presidents have set for themselves.
The deployment of an anti-missile system at Russia's door not only threatens its security, but also disrupts the nuclear balance with the U.S. If we regard nuclear warheads and the delivery system as a spear, America's global anti-missile system is like a shield. America can cover itself with the shield and fling a spear when under attack. But Russia only has a spear and no way to protect itself.
America has long been a pioneer in the invention and operation of new weapons. George Koval was a Soviet spy during World War II. Born in Iowa and educated in Manhattan, his all-American cover allowed him to penetrate the U.S. Manhattan Project to build the atomic bomb. It was crucial to the Soviet Union's exploding its first nuclear bomb 4 years after the U.S. This marked a new era characterized by a balance of terror.
To some extent, it's nuclear weapons that kept the world away from the two superpowers' direct military confrontation in the Cold War era. No matter what we call that time, balance of terror or cold peace, there was no devastating global war. On the other hand, the nuclear arms race dragged down both America and the USSR's economies, so they began talking about arms control in the late 1960s.
In 1969, the two countries began talks in Helsinki, Finland. Negotiations focused on limiting nuclear weapon stocks. The result was a series of disarmament pacts. One was the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, or START. The deal was signed by George Bush Sr. and Mikhail Gorbachev in 1991. START negotiated the largest and most complex arms control treaty in history. Its final implementation in late 2001 resulted in the removal of about 80% of all strategic nuclear weapons. Then came a dramatic twist. In December 2001, George W. Bush announced the U.S. was pulling out of the 1972 Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty with the USSR. The pact specifically forbids testing and deployment of a ballistic missile defense system.
Many months, and that is the need for America to move beyond the 1972 Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty.
America sets the agenda for global arms control. When it began considering reduction on nuclear arms in the 1960s, the world also talked about it and reached the Non-Proliferation Treaty in 1969. But when its focus turned to non-traditional security threats such as terrorism, the world turned away from traditional arms control.
Now it seems the time for nuclear non-proliferation has returned. Barack Obama delivered an ambitious speech on the issue in April.
First, the United States will take concrete steps towards a world without nuclear weapons. To put an end to Cold War thinking, we will reduce the role of nuclear weapons in our national security strategy and urge others to do the same. Make no mistake,
Obama's blueprint is heartening, but is it feasible?
Though nuclear arms may not threaten terrorists, but may be wielded at will by them, such weapons do ensure strategic balance of great powers. Nuclear power is more of a deterrent force. It's impossible to give it up until the world finds a substitute.
As idealistic as Barack Obama's appeal is, it gives people an idea of how far we could go. And what we need to get there is equal security for all sides involved and the preservation of strategic parity.
Well, so far among all the nuclear powers, China is the only country stating clearly that it will not be the first to use nuclear weapons in any conflict. If such a promise is so hard for nuclear halves, it's no wonder there's no worldwide pact on elimination. The Non-Proliferation Treaty is expected to be updated when reviewed next year. We'll keep you posted on the developments.